Greetings, Rebel fans. My name is Jason Kelly. This is the Let's Run podcast. I want to welcome you all to the show today. Lots going on. It's been an incredibly active Twitter day. One could be forgiven for forgetting that the Rebels had an awesome matchup tonight in Logan versus the Utah State Aggies. Ultimately, UNLV goes to Logan, falls. Let me see. 75-71, I believe, was the final score. Ken Palm has not updated their game yet. Falling to 500 would kill me. I think we're about to fall to 500. Reno is we travel to the University of Nevada, Reno on Saturday. Should be a tough time. JD Walker comes in. Make sure you guys are following JD. Really fun guy. Covers, I believe he does radio. Well, I know he does radio there in Logan. Thomas is a baller. He was impressive versus Utah State. Yeah, DJ was great tonight. I think the foul trouble ended up kind of getting to him. And that last foul that got called on him that gave him 4 fouls was kind of a rough call, I thought. But, you know, DJ showed up tonight. He was great. He was certainly a superstar tonight. A little disappointed that he didn't get a little bit more support from the supporting cast. Really only Jalen Hill had an okay game. I thought Jaden Henley. We have a lot of guys that have similar names on our team. I thought that he had an okay game as well, Jaden Henley. But, you know, DJ didn't have the support he needed to pull off that game. And UNLV just wasn't quite good enough. Thomas took over. The rest of the team was AAU. I thought Henley had an okay game. Too many turnovers. You know, his stat line is probably a little deceiving. Henley probably wasn't quite as good as the 16 points that the stats say that he was. You know, I don't think he was quite that good. UNLV loses 76-71 at the Spectrum. Going through the stats, DJ Thomas finishes 22 points, 7-11 from 2, 1 of 2 from 3, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. 6 assists, only 1 turnover, 2 rebounds. Just a great DJ game. He was awesome. Couldn't do it by himself, but really gave it his best effort. Really impressed with DJ tonight. You know, happy with the performance that he put forth. But again, you know, he played 40 minutes. He played the whole game. I think he got a little tired by the very end and couldn't quite pull us over the finish line. But overall, a great game for DJ. Jalen Hill finished with 16 points. He was 4 of 9 from 2, 8 of 9 from the free throw line. That was great. Did have 5 rebounds. Jalen Hill, 5 turnovers, though. No assists. Brutal. Jalen Hill, not a great game. 16 points is good, but Ken Palm only gave him an offensive rating of 88, which is really bad. Julian Rishwain finishes with 6 points, 2 threes. One of them was made in garbage time. Julian Rishwain had a terrible game. Couldn't get his shot going. You know, he's kind of a streaky shooter, and that's, you know, what you're going to be left with when you have streaky shooters. Sometimes they're going to make shots, sometimes they're not. Jaden Henley, he finishes with 16 points, 6 of 8 from the floor, from 2, 1 of 4 from 3, only 1 of 1 from the free throw line. Again, a couple of bad turnovers, but I thought that this was a game, a very good Jaden Henley game. I actually thought that Jaden was solid. He was the only other Rebel that I would say really brought it tonight. Bear Cherry, he finishes with 7 points, 5 rebounds, 3 of 3 from the free throw line. Just didn't get a ton of opportunities. Utah State was doubling him pretty quickly. Bear's not a good enough player to overcome that as of right now. But, you know, Bear didn't have a disastrous game, but he just didn't bring a ton for us. Pop only played 14 minutes. Not a ton of time for Pop tonight. 1 point from the free throw line. Pop had 3 rebounds. You know, solid game from Pop. Nothing great. Brooklyn Hicks, only 12 minutes. What's going on here? I mean, he did have the lowest offensive rating on the team. The team cratered offensively when he was on the floor. 1 of 2 from the 2 point from 2 and 0 of 1 for 3. You know, he had 2 rebounds. I don't get why he had 1 rebound. I don't get why Brooklyn Hicks didn't see any time. I thought he was okay when he was on the floor. Jalen Bedford, a disastrous performance. One of my keys coming into the game was that Jalen Bedford had to be a solid, good player, but he seems to be in the doghouse. Can't seem to get on the floor. I don't know if it's a health issue. Probably not. I don't think it is. Jalen Bedford has been a complete disaster for this team. And that Oral Roberts team that he was on wasn't good, and he was the leading scorer on that team. But Jalen Bedford, not a good game. Disastrous season continues for Bedford. We did get 4 minutes out of Jacob Barnaby. He hit a free throw. Not a ton of time though. Nothing really. He had that one shot attempt that was really weird. Rebels finished 4 of 20 from the 3-point line, only 20%, only 23 pointers taken. They really should have taken a lot more than that. If you look at their 2-point percentage, they really started to go inside at the paint. They were 20 of 36 from inside the arc for 55%. Not a good game plan, honestly, but just couldn't overcome the math. Utah State hit 9 threes. UNLV only hit 4. This game plan of attacking the rim is great, but you're going to lose the math a lot of times against teams. That happened against Wyoming. It happened against Utah State. If teams are shooting well against UNLV, they don't even have to shoot that great. All they have to do is make more threes than UNLV, and that seems to be happening right now. And so not a great game from UNLV, to be honest with you. DJ was really good. He was a star. He wasn't a transcendent superstar. He wasn't like Donovan Dent was at the Thomas and Mack the other day, but he just didn't have a ton of help. Jalen Hill and Jaden Henley, I didn't think Jalen Hill actually had that great of a game, but I thought Jaden Henley did. And the roster just is kind of struggling to fill in around DJ Thomas. They just don't seem to have a lot of options. Something that I would love to ask Kevin Kruger is like, why is Isaiah Cottrell on this roster? He's sitting on the bench. He's clearly in the doghouse. Kruger doesn't trust him. I don't blame Kruger for not trusting him. Every time I see Isaiah Cottrell play, I totally get why he doesn't play. But my big issue is why did we bring him back? Why have him on the roster at all? This team is clearly a big man short. I get that we were depending on Bear Cherry to be a good player, and he hasn't really been. I get that we were depending on Rob Whaley, but it's just a wasted roster spot on Isaiah Cottrell. And I like Isaiah Cottrell. I think he's a really nice guy, but I don't know why he's on the team. I don't, and I think UNLV really needs another big option right now, and they just don't have it. Very poor roster construction by the staff. We weren't expecting the Rob Whaley injury, but you're going to have injuries. That's just part of the game. Every team's dealing with injuries. It's not unique to UNLV. Let's get some of these comments up. Tough game tonight. UNLV shooter didn't show up. Yeah, I believe you're talking about Julian Rishwain. Did not have a good game. 2 of 10 from 3 tonight. Really rough. I was really disappointed because if UNLV is going to win, Julian Rishwain's kind of got to be making shots. I didn't think he had a terrible game outside of the shooting, but that's really all he's on the roster for, shooting. So if Julian Rishwain goes 2 for 10 from the 3-point line, not going to be a good night. Dodger fans, Rebel Diehard says, when is someone going to bring up the lack of talent on this team? That's the real problem. We have been bringing it up. This team just doesn't quite have the horses. And that's Kevin Kruger's fault. And that's the staff's fault that this team doesn't have the horses. They had a ton of targets that they targeted in the transfer portal at the end of last season, in the offseason, and they didn't get enough of them. They ended up on backup options. They took swings on guys like Jalen Bedford that just haven't worked out. And I don't think they're getting the most out of the talent that they have on the roster. But even if they were doing that, this roster isn't talented enough. Even with a great coach, I'm not sure that this roster is an NCAA tournament type roster. I mean, we're 10-11. We've lost 10 games this year. Terrible timeouts. Yeah, I mean, I didn't love the rotation. I don't get why Brooklyn Hicks isn't playing more. I get that Brooklyn Hicks plays a little bit out of control, but he plays with such hustle. And every time I feel like he's on the court, I feel like we see the best of this team. Playing 40 minutes of DJ Thomas tonight. And I get that we're missing Jace Whiting, but Jace Whiting isn't some world beater player. And I like Jace Whiting. I think he would be a good player for this team. But let's see. One crucial turnover though. Yeah, he did have that terrible turnover. Dion Varela, have you seen the schools Kevin is recruiting against? Mississippi State. Yeah. I'm not sure that Kevin Kruger is going to be the head coach next year, so I don't think we're going to have to be worried about his upcoming recruiting class. Turnover issue, 3-point shooting issue, rebounding issue in that order. I thought that UNLV had some good defensive moments. I thought they played about 20. They played about half the game okay. They had that disastrous start where they were down, I think, like 17-6 or something like that. They were down. They were down big early, and it's too big of a hill to climb. When you're playing at Utah State to put yourself down that early, and UNLV didn't really seem prepared for the Utah State zone. Now the Utah State zone has given a lot of teams issues all year, so it's not unique to UNLV. And UNLV did better at the spectrum than a lot of other teams have done. But frankly, I just didn't think that the team came out focused. And maybe they were a little intimidated by the crowd. I'm not sure. Extend Kruger. In case you guys did not see it, there was a Utah State fan that had a sign that said "Extend Kruger." I did post it on my Twitter. Kevin Kruger is well liked by the teams that want to see UNLV not be good. So that should tell you when the fans of other teams want you to extend your coach, that's an issue. Hicks is in the doghouse. Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, we were not in practice. I'm not a media member that goes to practice or anything. I'm not really I'm not a credentialed media member. I just do the podcast. I just try and watch the games and post analysis. So I don't know exactly why Hicks is in the doghouse. But I feel like when he plays with effort and heart and passion that I just don't see from other players, and that he's physically talented enough to be a real contributor. And I don't get it. And that's something that I hope Kevin Kruger would be asked if our local media would do its job. I don't know. Tough game come all the way back. Yeah, it was tough. The Rebels fought really hard to get back in that game, but ultimately they it was too big of a mountain to climb from their start. Banana Man says, Kruger is the face of UNLV basketball mediocrity in the Mountain West. Anyone else would be the new face of UNLV's new era in the pack. Please, Harper, let us jump ship on this dying conference. I'm not going to go into the pack stuff, at least right now. But yeah, I think Kevin Kruger fits right in the new Mountain West. He's mediocre as a basketball head coach, mediocre to bad, and this new Mountain West is going to be mediocre to bad. So if UNLV really wants to embrace the new Mountain West, I think keeping Kevin Kruger around is probably a good choice. Barnaby is a center who became too small to play center. Games needs to translate to being a forward if it does at all. I thought Jacob Barnaby had potential coming into the year. I thought he would be a legit contributor. UNLV had a freshman, James Evans, that I thought was going to be a real contributor, who I really liked as a player. But Barnaby hasn't really worked out. Now he's still young. I think this is still technically his first year of eligibility. So he's a redshirt freshman right now. But yeah, Barnaby just isn't working right now, but he's still young. You never know. He moves really well. He's a freak athlete, but it's not working right now. A lot of comments. Banana Man, really good. Find us the biggest guy on campus and make him a walk-on. Drop control off at the nearest bus station. Okay, yeah. There's no universe where Rishwain needs to be taking 10 threes. I actually kind of disagree with that. I don't know that the UNLV offense generates enough good looks that a Rishwain 3 isn't a good shot attempt. If it were up to me, I would have Rishwain shooting 16 threes a game. So I guess I kind of disagree there. I think a Rishwain 3 is a good shot attempt for this offense. Don't tell that certain someone on Twitter thinks he has the second coming of the dream team. Don't tell that to a certain someone on Twitter. Yeah, not a great team. Hicks in for Rishwain. I agree. I would like to see Hicks in for Rishwain. 22-7. I don't know what that means. They did better than I thought they would. Yeah, I mean, it was a competitive game. UNLV certainly didn't embarrass themselves at Utah State. I thought that they acquitted themselves okay. Probably for the free throw shooting. James Evans comeback, be revolutionary. Yeah, I hope James Evans, who was ruled ineligible due to an academic issue. I don't think it was his fault necessarily, but James Evans is a player that I really believe in and think could be a great player for this UNLV team and could provide some size and athleticism on the perimeter. And it was a bummer that we weren't able to have him this year. So what are the big takeaways? Where does UNLV go from here? I think this UNLV tends to play up to their competition a little bit. You see them, obviously that wasn't the case when they got blown out at Boise State and at Colorado State, but several times this year, UNLV has played up to their level of competition, and they're having their first matchup against Reno this Saturday. I think that's going to be I think that's going to be a really telling game for the state of this team. Um, I believe Jeff Waddilove said this, but he said that the UNLV, when they're playing with confidence, they can play with anybody, but they have a confidence issue. Um, and I think that UNLV does not have the belief, or at least they don't play like they have the belief that they can beat anybody consistently. It's one thing to think, oh, we're better than them, we're going to go beat them, and to think that all the time. But I don't see that from this team. I think they lack confidence. I think that was a good point that Jeff made. Um, I want to see a team that walks into a gym and thinks they can win, and that thinks they can win from the moment that they walk into the gym. And this team doesn't have that. Now, there are moments when they play like that. Don't get me wrong. There are moments where this team does walk into a gym and does look like a team that can win any game against any team in the Mountain West. They certainly did that against San Diego State, but their confidence comes and goes. And I think that the team, Jalen Hill's probably supposed to be this guy. DJ Thomas maybe is a little young to be this guy, but I think this team kind of lacks senior leadership. I think it lacks leadership from Kevin Kruger. I don't think that he inspires his team with confidence. I don't get that vibe from him. When you see Kevin Kruger doing his little squat, the Kruger crouch, as we have come to call it, on the sideline, that doesn't inspire me. And maybe they can pull it off every once in a while and they can play with confidence, but they didn't tonight. So where do they go from here? This Reno team is really struggling. Reno lost tonight at Boise State. I believe they lost pretty convincingly by like 10. So Reno lost to Boise State in Boise, 66-56. To drop to 11-10, 11-10, and 3-7 in Mountain West play. Boise State is really struggling. Reno is really struggling right now. And I imagine this game against UNLV on Saturday will be seen kind of as a get-right game. And maybe, Steve Alford will try and turn around their season with a performance against UNLV. But UNLV falls to 5-5 in conference play. Once you have more than 4 losses in the Mountain West, it's basically impossible to win the league. So tonight they were also eliminated from contention for the Mountain West regular season championship. They're still technically not eliminated for a top 5 seed. If you didn't know, the top 5 seeds in the Mountain West, they get a bye and do not have to play the first day in the Mountain West Conference tournament. If UNLV wants to try and win the Mountain West Conference tournament, which they won't, in case you didn't know, UNLV is 0-9. Have won 0 games in the last 9 years against teams not named Air Force in the Mountain West Conference tournament. UNLV has been one of the worst performers in terms of a conference tournament over the last decade in the country. And it's a tournament that's played in their home building. So you do not have confidence in UNLV in the Mountain West Conference tournament. Who should be? If UNLV wants to finish top 5. The team that they have to probably look out for is Boise State. They probably have to beat Boise State. They probably have to go to New Mexico and win. They have to beat Wyoming. I think they can probably lose 2 more games, which is a tall task. This team kind of looks like it's going to be a 11-9, 10-10 type team in the Mountain West. That's probably not going to be good enough for a top 5 seed in the Mountain West Conference tournament. But if they can, make it 13-7, that might get it. But that would mean that the Rebels can only lose 2 more games. So the 6th seed is definitely the best. That would probably set them up for a matchup against Air Force, ironically. And I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what UNLV can do in terms of their future. I think that this Reno game is going to be telling. For Reno, it's more of a game about probably Reno than it is about UNLV. This Reno team is beatable if Kevin Kruger can get his guys up to go up to Reno and beat them. that'll be a good sign. But yeah, I mean, the team isn't very good. They're 11-10. They're mediocre. Um, and yeah, this is where we are in the season. You know, it's the swan song of the Kevin Kruger era. Um, but I mean, all of it seems, insignificant compared to the pack stuff that's going on right now. Um, who should be our next head coach? We really don't know. We don't know what kind of targets are going to be available for our next head coach. I mean, obviously, the candidate that everybody would want is Will Wade, but UNLV it's probably not, in their budget to go after a guy like Will Wade. UNLV does not invest in basketball as much as they used to, just in terms of budget. Their budget is, I think, fourth in the Mountain West. Just for example, Boise State, a program that has never won an NCAA tournament game, um, athletic has a higher athletic basketball budget than UNLV does. Boise State invests more into basketball on an annual basis than UNLV does. Um, so are they going to go after a guy like Will Wade or Russell Turner? I probably don't think so. I don't know who the next head coach is going to be. They don't have to go for a splashy name. They just have to go for a name that can coach well. After Wade declines, we got to call Ben McCollum. I like that name. Don't know what he's doing right now, though. This Reno team is bad, which is why we'll play down to their level. Yeah, I mean, UNLV tends to play down to their competition and often can't support their competition. Two terrible teams playing this Saturday. Yeah, Reno sucks. Reno sucks. We are mediocre, and we suck sometimes. Robbie says, full support to this podcast. I watched the game tonight. I'll be doing an edited recap opinion piece. Give it a read. Yeah, give it a read, guys. Give Robbie's piece a read. Drake head coach. Yep, I think that would be a good choice. I don't remember his name, but Drake is killing it this year. And so that's kind of where things stand. DJ was great. Wasn't good enough to carry a team alone, but he was still really good. I really liked the 6 assists and only 1 turnover stat for DJ tonight. He got hosed by that last foul call. That really messed with his rhythm and style. Ben McCollum is sorry. Thank you, Blurt. I've said it a million times this year. Free throws. We finally hit 3 throws. We can't hit a 3. Yeah, I think the issue with UNLV is that they don't have a ton of great free throw shooters that consistently get free throws. DJ is like a 70%, 72% free throw shooter, which actually isn't great for your point guard. You'd like them to be 85, 90%. Brooklyn Hicks is a below 50% or around a 50% free throw shooter. Obviously, our big men are not great free throw shooters. Bear Cherry and Pop and Jacob Barnaby, sorry. Rich Swain's a pretty good free throw shooter, but he doesn't get a ton of attempts. Henley is actually a really good free throw shooter. I have all the confidence in the world when Jaden Henley goes to the line. And Jalen Bedford, I don't know the last time that he shot a free throw. So not a great free throw shooting team. A team that can hit threes but doesn't take enough of them probably. I mean, UNLV should be taking 25 to 30 threes a game and isn't taking – I think they're only taking like 15 or 16. UNLV should be taking almost double the amount of free throws that they have. Interesting that UNLV and Reno are both 11-10 going into this matchup on Saturday. And so, yeah, that's kind of the thing for tonight. I don't think I want to go into pack stuff tonight. I think everybody's a little tired of it. But my feelings about it. UNLV is making an awful decision and screwing their future. And I really wish they weren't misleading people into believing some Big 12 invite is going to come, because it's not. Kevin Kruger and Eric Harper tonight and today, especially if there's a grant of rights signed by UNLV to the Mountain West, Kevin Kruger and Eric Harper both deserve a fat heap of criticism for that. If I were the Pac-12, what I would do is try and add Reno and New Mexico and kind of try and force UNLV's hand. At least you get rid of schools like San Jose State, who doesn't invest into sports, Wyoming, who's a nightmare travel partner, Hawaii, who's an impossible travel partner, UTEP, who doesn't invest. It's not ideal. I'm sure that the Pac wouldn't want to add New Mexico and Reno, but it's time to cut this crap out. I mean, this Pac-12 thing is exhausting. It's exhausting, and I'm tired of it because I've been a warrior about it for a long time. So I guess we'll see. We won't know until we know. I think we'll know sooner than later. Once we have a media deal signed by both respective conference, by each respective conference, we'll probably be able to put this topic to rest. And then the athletic department will finally have to live with their putrid, awful, disgusting, cowardly, idiotic, moronic decision to stay in the Mountain West. Cannot criticize the athletic department enough if they actually go through with this decision. So, guys, that's all I wanted to get into tonight. I don't want to drag on for too long about that. Nobody wants to hear me say the same things over and over and over again. A good effort for the Running Rebels tonight. Losing in the Spectrum, there's no shame in that. It's a really tough place to play. Hope for Rebel asks, what is my prediction of what will happen in the end? My prediction is that the Pac-12 will add Texas. So I would give it about a 20% chance. I don't think that the grant of rights that UNLV in the memorandum of understanding that UNLV signed is as legally binding as, say, what the ACC has with Florida State. I don't believe that at all. I think that there is some wiggle room there. You wouldn't see this much smoke about it. But I think if UNLV goes to the Pac-12, it will go kicking and screaming. Trust me, there are people in the athletic department that think that they're playing underwater 3D backgammon, outsmarting everybody. They are light years ahead of everybody. They're going to the Big 12. They don't need the Pac-12. The Pac-12 didn't want them. We're too good to join a conference that's better than the conference that we're currently in. We're smarter than these Pac-12 schools. There are people that think that in the athletic department, that think that their farts smell like roses, as Outcast says. There are people that really think that. They think they're smart. It's kind of like an NBA team that refuses to trade a player because, we're going to wait for a better offer. Whatever. We don't need to trade a guy right now like Walker Kessler for the Utah Jazz. They think they're playing this smart. They think they're smarter than everybody else. They're trying to stick it to those Pac-12, those rowdy Pac-12 schools that I'm on my soapbox now. I didn't want to do this. They're trying to stick it to those Pac-12 schools that shunned them from the beginning and should have had UNLV in the Pac-12 from the beginning. They're trying to prove those schools wrong. They're smarter than they are, and they're not. They're not. You get a chance to join a better conference, you take it. You don't purposefully stay in a bad conference. It's idiotic to do that. You are setting yourself up for failure. Here's the thing. Could UNLV get an invite to the Big 12? It's possible. I don't think it's likely, but it is possible. You know what it is also? Completely out of the control of UNLV. You could have a signed affidavit from the president of the Big 12 saying, we want UNLV to join the Big 12. And that wouldn't mean anything because all of the university presidents, it has to be a unanimous decision of the Big 12, have to vote to share their revenue with UNLV. The Big 12 already does their media days in Las Vegas. They already have connections to Las Vegas. They don't need UNLV to lose Las Vegas. They have enough money. They don't need us to use Las Vegas. Now, will we help? I think so. Would we be a value proposition to the Big 12? Absolutely. I think that we would be a valuable addition to the Big 12, but we're not going to get invited. No way. You know what? The Big 12 had of the four Power Four conferences had the worst perception. They were perceived as the weakest conference of the Power Four this year. They only got one team into the college football playoff. Why? Because the Big 12, to make up for the losses of Texas and Oklahoma, added group of five schools. They added BYU. They added Cincinnati. They added Houston. They added UCF. And they got the reputation of a group of five conference in comparison to the other power leagues, even though the Big 12 was really good this year. And you think that they're going to add even more group of five schools? And the first choice they make isn't going to be Boise, who's going to college football playoffs, who has 3 Fiesta Bowls. They're going to add UNLV. Isn't going to be Oregon State, who has a Power 5 pedigree, who spends way more money on athletics than UNLV. You are betting that? Now, could it happen? Yes, it absolutely could. But that's not in our control. It is not in our control to go to the Big 12. It isn't. We have to hope that college football implodes and that everything works out perfectly for us. What is in our control is we are currently in a conference with schools that do not invest into their athletics. Go ahead and look at the athletic budget of San Jose State, New Mexico, and Reno. These schools don't invest into football, the money-making sport. We are in the same conference as UTEP, UC Davis. That is something that we know. We're in a bad conference. We're in a conference competing with Conference USA for the worst conference in college football. And we don't have to be. We know that. We don't know about the Big 12. We don't know about the future structure of college athletics, but we do know that we're currently going to be in an awful conference. And we know that we have a way out. We know that we can improve into a better conference than the one that we're currently in. We know that it is not a lateral move, moving from the new Mountain West to the new Pac-12. 13 of the last 14 Mountain West champions are leaving the Mountain West and going to the new Pac-12. The schools that get the most attendance, they're leaving the Mountain West and going to the new Pac-12. The schools that get the highest viewership, they're leaving the Mountain West and going to the new Pac-12. And we think we're going to outsmart the system? We are the dude who goes to Vegas, who watched a 20-minute YouTube clip on how to count cards. That goes in, they've got a button down. They just watched The Hangover with their friends. They watched a YouTube clip on how to count cards, and they think they're going to go and rob the Bellagio. That's what UNLV Athletics is doing right now. Now, look, the Pac-12 doesn't have a ton of options. UNLV is in a nice negotiating position. Negotiate. Get a better deal to go into the Pac-12 than the one that currently exists. I think you can do that. But to act like you're outsmarting college sports when you, before the last 2 years, have been a bottom 5 out of the 130 college football programs, you have 2 good years, and all of a sudden you think that you're smarter than everybody else? No. UNLV left the WAC 30 years ago to start the Mountain West Conference because they knew that not all G5 conferences are created equal. And is the new Pac-12 a G5 conference? Yes, it is. It's absolutely another G5 conference, but it's a better one. If UNLV goes undefeated in the new Mountain West, and and Boise State goes undefeated in the new Pac-12, UNLV will not get the college football playoff invite. Why do you think that UNLV had a chance to go to the college football playoff this year? Now, obviously, they won some good games, but the only reason they had a chance is because they played in the same conference as Boise State. If UNLV was in the American Athletic Conference playing for that conference championship, and Memphis was in the Pac-12, it was in the Mountain West playing for our conference championship, the winner of Memphis and Boise State would have gone to the college football playoff. And if UNLV would have won the AAC, they would have been left out in the cold. What does that tell you? The better conference you're in, the more that you control your destiny in a path to the college football playoff. You're not outsmarting anybody. There are rules. There are rules, like the law of gravity. There are rules that you do not break. Get a chance to join a better conference, and you have negotiating power in doing so. You do it. You don't choose to tie yourself to UTEP when you could tie yourself to Boise State. You don't do that. It's idiotic. It's moronic. It's dumb. And look, did the Pac-12 mess up its own inception? Absolutely it did. Should UNLV have been a part of the initial expansion of the Pac-12? Yeah. But just because the Pac-12 made a stupid decision in not including UNLV in the first place does not mean that we have to fail to invest in our student athletes. I mean, look at the travel of the new Mountain West. We have to go to Northern Illinois, which is in a small city outside of Chicago, and Hawaii and Wyoming, whereas we could be going to San Diego, Boise, which is easy to get to. We could be going, to Colorado State, which is easy to get to. I mean, we're setting ourselves up for an awful situation, and we're going to be depending on a conference that has no interest in our survival to save us, to throw us a lifeline when we could take things into our own hands. And guess what? The athletic department is trying to sell you the Big 12. They think they're going to do it. They're lying to you. You want to know why we're not going to the Pac-12? It's because UNLV has mismanaged their money so badly that they can't put their student athletes in the best position to succeed. They can't do it. Come out and say, you know what? We suck. We're Bush League. We can't put our student athletes in the best conference possible. We can't give our fans the best matchups possible. We haven't done good with money, and we're just not that, We are a school that hires Kevin Kruger. What did you guys expect? If that is what they had said from the beginning, I would disagree, but at least I could understand it. The school that hired Kevin Kruger couldn't get its finances in order to put its athletic teams in the best position to succeed. I can believe that. And so, gosh, I'm sorry, I did not want to go into this. But obviously I have a lot of pent up frustration and anger about it. Look, I'm just a guy speaking to a screen. I do not have sources. People in the athletic department do not want to talk to me. They don't want to tell me anything. They wouldn't tell me anything. I'm just a person with an opinion that loves this school, that loves our city with all my heart. That's all I am. I'm nothing besides that. But choosing to stay in a bad conference when you don't have to is so stupid, is so dumb. UNLV gets 2 good years of football and all of a sudden thinks that they can outsmart the tried and true wisdom of better conference equals better opportunity. You have 2 good years of college football, and you think you have 2 good years with Barry Odom, a coach who left us. Dan Mullen, I think, is going to be awesome. We don't even know if Dan Mullen is going to be an amazing coach at UNLV. You have 2 good years of football, and all of a sudden, you think that you're smarter than the laws that dictate the universe of college sports. How many schools have an invitation and a conference that is better than the conference that they're currently in, begging them to come into that conference and turn it down? Find me one. Find me one. Please. If Memphis was in the Sun Belt, you think they'd be turning down an invite to the AAC? No. And we don't know what the future of college football holds. We don't. But I think that staying in the Mountain West. Now, look, if Eric Harper is using this all as a negotiating tactic, and we're going to end up in the Pac-12 anyway, and the exit fees, from the new Pac, I think that if UNLV goes to the Pac-12, they need to maybe not eliminate exit fees to Power 4 conferences, but maybe just say that, your exit fee from the Pac-12 to a Power 4 conference is just the yearly media deal times the amount of years that are left on the media deal, as opposed to a 3 times multiplier that exists right now. You can negotiate that down. You could maybe just say, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. So could you please maybe spot us a little bit more money up front? And you don't have to ask for special treatment. You could ask for that, from Washington State and Oregon State to apply to all the schools that join from the Mountain West. But UNLV's got a position of, where else is the Pac-12 going to go? They're going to add New Mexico State. They're going to add Sacramento State. They're going to add even Texas State. That's a school that's a long way away. I believe that there is legitimate negotiations between Texas State and the Pac-12, but who else is the Pac-12 going to add? You have a power of position. You have a powerful position right now, UNLV. Use it. Be smart. If I'm in math class and I am trying to solve an equation that my teacher gives me, but I'm saying, actually, we're going to divide both sides 3 times and that'll help me get the right answer. And the teacher's like, no, math has been this way always. You don't get to change the rules. That's what UNLV is trying to do right now. And it's idiotic and it's dumb. And just because your feelings are hurt that you weren't in the initial expansion wave of the Pac-12, oh, Eric Harper just crying because the San Diego State athletic director said something mean about UNLV. Get over it. Put your student athletes first. In 10 years, Eric Harper is not going to be the athletic director at UNLV. But we're all still going to be fans. You're not smart, dude. Anyway. All right, I think I've said enough about this, but if you want to talk about it more, DM me. I was in class all day today, so I was on Twitter. I was a fiend on Twitter today. I was talking way too much. I guess we'll see. Um, you know, there are other considerations in the new Pac-12. You get NCAA tournament units from schools like Gonzaga and San Diego State who are making deep runs in the NCAA tournament consistently. You get better bowl matchups. Um, and it does not preclude you from trying to join the Big 12. It's not an either or thing. Guess what? These are state-run institutions. You think I give, as a fan that loves UNLV, that goes to all the games, you think I give a rat's, you know, about $8 million that UNLV? What are they going to spend it on? I don't care. Put our school in the best position possible. If UNLV had a chance to join the Big 12 tomorrow, but it cost them $60 million, and UNLV was like, we don't have the money, and the Big 12 was like, we want you to join, and they were like, we can't afford it. Sorry, I would be furious. Obviously, it doesn't cost $60 million to join the Pac-12, and we don't even know how much it would cost to join the Pac-12 because we don't know what the result of that lawsuit is going to be. To tie yourself to the Mountain West without knowing what the media deal for the Mountain West is going to be, without knowing what the result of the lawsuit between the Mountain West and the Pac-12 is going to be, without knowing which schools the Mountain West is going to add, is insanity. It's insanity. We don't even know if UNLV is going to get all that sweet, juicy cash that's going to bail us out of our idiotic financial decisions. We don't even know that because we don't know the result of the lawsuit yet. So why would you anchor yourself to a crappy conference? Anyway, okay, guys, thank you so much. Disappointing that the Rebels fell to Utah State. Hoping they can pull back and have a good outing against Reno. I'm still going to support the athletic department. I'm still going to support not the athletic department. I'm still going to support the school, and I'm still going to give it my all and keep making this podcast. And even if UNLV stays in the Mountain West, I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to love the Rebels. But when they tell you that they believe that UNLV is a Power 4 school and we're gonna show that Pac-12, know that what they're really saying is we suck with money and our feelings are hurt. That's what they're saying. They're not saying that they actually believe in UNLV to the Big 12. They're lying to themselves and they're lying to you, and it's pathetic. So, all right, I went way more scorched earth on that than I thought I was going to. Guys, you have a wonderful night. Get some good sleep. It's still the middle of the week, so I got to get up and go to work tomorrow. But I appreciate the almost 400 people for watching this. You guys have a wonderful night. Let's run.